Good evening. My name is Alicia Obando and I'm here from the Anti-Cruelty Society. For 109 years we have provided an open door for Chicago's animals in need. Our mission of preventing cruelty to animals and advancing humane education is evident in all the work that we do. And over the next several weeks, on Thursdays here at 5:30, we are going to be talking on this live interactive call-in show here at CAN TV21 about our different services and programs at the Anti-Cruelty Society. During the next 25 minutes, we're going to discuss the history of the Anti-Cruelty Society, and we invite you to call in with any questions that you may have, and the number is on the screen, 312-738-1060. Our phone lines are now open. My guest here with me today, my human guest, is Tammy Bouschor, and she is the Community Events Coordinator at the Anti-Cruelty Society. But before we get started with Tammy, I'd like to introduce our pet guest this evening, and that is Little Cobra. Here you go. Cobra is a handsome little 11-week-old kitten. He is gray. I don't know if you can notice there. He kind of seems dark, but he is a gray little kitten, and he is almost ready to be adopted. He is very cute. Don't let the name fool you. He is a sweet little boy who loves to purr. He loves to be cuddled, and him and his siblings were surrendered to the Anti-Cruelty Society because the owner had too many cats already and just couldn't keep them. They have been kept in the Behavior and Training Department until they get old enough for adoption, and they should be available very soon. Little Cobra did have a little issue with his leg, and he had a cast on it for a week, but it's doing much better, and he's on his way to being completely healed. So if you're interested, his tab band number is 675939, and he and his siblings will be available soon if you want to come and check him out. So thank you so much, Cobra, for coming here today. Let's send you back over to your little house. Bye-bye. All right. Well, welcome to the show, Tammy.
Thank you very much.
Now, the Anti-Cruelty Society was formed how long ago? How did that happen?
It was founded in 1899 by a woman named Rose Fay Thomas. Rose Fay Thomas was the wife of the city's orchestra, and so she was a very prominent woman. Her husband was Theodore Thomas. Very prominent family, so she had influence, and she was very concerned in particular about the workhorses in the city, the cruelty that she saw happening to the city's animals. So she got a group of very prominent women together to discuss putting together the society. At the time, there was another organization that was doing this type of work. It was called the Illinois Humane Society, and initially she had gone to them and wanted to be a chapter. But Rose Fay Thomas was also very interested in women's suffrage, and one of the things that she did not like was that she would not be a voting member. The woman could not be on the board, and they could not be voting members, and this was also very important. So she decided that she wanted to start her own separate society. Okay. So it was, they met and they founded it in 1899.
Wow, that's a long time ago. Yeah. Now, when we first started, we also worked on some children's issues?
Yes. It may sound kind of strange that an organization that was for animals would also be concerned with protecting children. But the animal laws actually existed, animal protection laws existed before we had laws to protect children. I'm going to go ahead and put up the next slide because I want to talk a little bit about how this came about. As a matter of fact, back in the 1870s, there's a very famous case. This little girl on the screen is named Mary Ellen Wilson. And a man named Henry Burke, who actually formed the first humane society in the United States, came to her defense because she was being cruelly treated, and but there were no laws to protect her. So they actually used the laws to protect animals to prosecute her case. After that, in 1877, the first child protection laws were established, and this is why humane societies were also helping with this, because there were no separate child protection agencies yet. So in the beginning years, we did this as well. But the Illinois Humane Society in Chicago was also protecting children, and so there was kind of a duplicate service. We did the same things for many years. As they became more involved with protecting children, our interest switched to protecting animals, and eventually we concentrated on animals solely.
Okay. So what were some of the programs that the Anti-Cruelty Society first started off with when they wanted to help animals?
The early things that we were concerned with were horses. The city at the turn of the century would have had about 50,000 work horses in it. That's a lot of animals, and they were often very cruelly treated. One of the things that we did first was to put up drinking fountains around the city. There were none of these initially, and the horses had no place, thirsty work horses had no place to go. Illinois Humane was also working on this as one of the things we did jointly. You can still see one of these fountains across from the water tower in downtown Chicago. Other things that we did, for example, there was a very cold winter in 1917, and the volunteers at the Anti-Cruelty Society actually handed out shoes made out of carpet for the horses to help them on the very icy streets. And we actually started a horse's Christmas in the late 1920s. And this had two purposes. One, we would be able to, we handed out blankets for the horses. So each year, an old tattered blanket might be replaced with a brand new fresh one. They were given some food, extra food and treats. But also, especially as the years went on, it allowed us to inspect horses in the city. As they would come to get these things, we would be able to inspect these horses and see how they were being treated. Another big concern of the Anti-Cruelty Society in the early years was the union stockyards and the meatpacking plants. There were inhumane butchery techniques going on at all times at that time period. So one of the things they did manage to do was in 1908, they got the meat packers to sit down with representatives from the Anti-Cruelty Society and come to voluntary agreements of improving the treatment of the animals, both in the slaughterhouses and in the stockyards.
Okay. And something with pigeons, I believe? There was even some help for the little pigeons.
Yes. At various times, and in various places over the years, pigeons were concerned. So they, later on when we had our newer building, they actually had pigeon feeding platforms in the courtyard of that building. But they also went to Grant Park and put out seed for the pigeons. So there were a lot of ways we helped the animals at the time.
So early on, we were helping children and horses and the farm animals and the pigeons. And
yes,
all
and
kinds
of course,
of
and we did help cats and dogs, but not as many people have had pets in those days because they couldn't afford them in many cases.
Sure, sure.